The morning sunlight spilled to the tall cafe windows, warming the wooden floors and filling the small neighborhood coffee shop with a calm, golden glow. Outside, people hurried along the sidewalk with their busy daytime routines. But inside the cafe, the atmosphere felt gentle and peaceful. That peace, however, was about to be shattered by a moment no one inside would ever forget. At a corner table sat a quiet man named Marcus Hale, a single father whose tired eyes carried the weight of sleepless nights and years of responsibility. Across from him sat his 6-year-old daughter, Amara, carefully stirring whipped cream into her hot chocolate with the kind of deep concentration only children possess. Marcus watched her with a soft smile, the kind that appeared rarely but meant everything. To strangers, Marcus looked like an ordinary man. Simple clothes, worn sneakers, and hands that looked rough from years of hard work. No one in that cafe knew the truth hidden behind those calm eyes. Before the story continues, take a moment to support the channel. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of quiet strength, please like this video, share it with someone who needs inspiration, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel Heartfelt Stories so you never miss a story that might touch your heart. Marcus has spent the entire morning trying to make this small moment special for his daughter. Being a single parent had never been easy. Ever since Amara's mother passed away 3 years earlier, Marcus had become everything for her. Father, comforter, teacher, protector. Every school morning began before sunrise, packing lunches, braiding hair with clumsy fingers, and whispering encouragement before sending her into a world that sometimes felt too big for such a small child. That morning, Marcus had promised Amara a treat after her school art competition. She had painted a bright picture of a sunrise over mountains, proudly explaining that the sun meant hope. The judges didn't give her first place, but Marcus told her something far more important. That courage mattered more than trophies. So they came to the cafe to celebrate anyway. Most people inside barely noticed them, except one man sitting near the counter. His name was Trevor Whitlock, a loud and arrogant businessman who had been complaining all morning about his delayed meeting and bitter coffee. Trevor was the type of man who believed confidence meant being louder than everyone else. When his eyes landed on Marcus and Amara, he saw an easy target. Trevor watched as Marcus carefully counted a few bills before paying for their drinks. The sight triggered a smug grin. In Trevor's mind, wealth measured person's worth, and Marcus clearly didn't meet his standards. Soon the mocking began. Trevor leaned back in his chair, speaking loudly enough for nearby customers to hear. His voice carried a cruel amusement as he made sarcastic remarks about struggling fathers and people who should know their place. The comments were vague but sharp, designed to embarrass without direct confrontation. Amara's small hand stopped stirring her drink. Children have a strange ability to sense tension even when they do not fully understand it. She glanced up at her father with worried eyes. Marcus remained calm. He gently placed his hand over hers and continued talking to her about her painting, ignoring the laughter echoing from Trevor's table. Years ago, Marcus had learned something during long missions in distant places. That reacting to every insult only gave power to those who thrived on cruelty. But Trevor wasn't satisfied. He raised his voice again, making another cutting remark about men who couldn't even provide properly for their kids. This time, the entire cafe went quiet. Baristas paused mid-movement. Customers exchanged uneasy glances. Everyone sensed the tension growing thicker in the room. Marcus slowly looked up. There was no anger in his expression, only a steady, controlled calm that felt strangely heavier than rage. He stood up, tall and composed, and gently placed his daughter's backpack on his chair. Amara watched him with quiet trust, as if she knew her father would handle whatever came next. For a moment, Trevor smirked, clearly expecting an argument or a scene. But Marcus simply walked toward the counter to grab napkins for his daughter's spilled drink. His patience only irritated Trevor more. The bully stood up abruptly, knocking his chair back with a loud scrape. What Trevor didn't realize was that several people in the cafe had begun noticing something unusual about Marcus. It wasn't just his calm. It was the way he moved, balanced, alert, aware of every corner of the room. It was the posture of someone trained to stay composed under pressure. Trevor stepped closer, tried to intimidate him physically now. The cafe held its breath. Marcus turned slowly. In the bright daylight pouring through the window, the sleeves of his shirt shifted slightly, revealing faint scars along his forearm, old marks that told silent stories of battles long past. Trevor continued talking, louder and more aggressive, unaware that the man standing in front of him had once faced dangers far greater than loud insults in a coffee shop. Marcus's voice finally came, calm and measured. He didn't raise it. He didn't threaten. He simply told Trevor that there was a child present and that some battles were not worth fighting. The words should have ended the moment, but Trevor laughed again. And that was when the cafe manager quietly approached Marcus with a different tone entirely. The manager recognized something most people didn't. Earlier that morning, Marcus had accidentally left a small military identification card on the table while helping Amara with her art supplies. The manager had picked it up to return it, and froze when he read the unit listed beneath Marcus Hale's name. Delta Force, one of the most elite special operations units in the world. Suddenly, everything made sense. The scars, the discipline, the quiet strength. The manager cleared his throat gently and addressed Trevor, explaining in a calm but firm voice that Marcus Hale was a decorated veteran who had served in some of the most dangerous missions imaginable. Missions that required courage, sacrifice, and loyalty far beyond ordinary understanding. The cafe fell completely silent. Trevor's confident smirk disappeared. The realization hit him like cold water. The man he had mocked for being a struggling single father was someone who had risked his life countless times protecting people who would never know his name. Marcus didn't look proud. He didn't even look interested in the revelation. Instead, he walked back to his daughter's table, sat down beside her, and gently wiped the whipped cream from her cheek with a napkin. His entire focus returned to the little girl smiling shyly up at him. The room watched in quiet admiration. Because true strength often looks exactly like that. Calm, patient, and humble. Trevor stood frozen, embarrassment flooding his face. For the first time all morning, he had nothing to say. Marcus simply finished his coffee. A few minutes later, he helped Amara put on her small backpack and prepared to leave. As they walked toward the door, sunlight filled the entrance again, wrapping the father and daughter in warm daylight. Before stepping outside, Marcus paused briefly and looked back, not at Trevor, but at the room, not with anger, with forgiveness. It was a kind of silent grace that taught a deeper lesson than any confrontation ever could. As they disappeared into the bright afternoon street, the cafe slowly returned to life. Conversations resumed, but something had changed. Everyone present had just witnessed a reminder that appearances can be deceiving, and that the quietest people often carry the greatest stories. Now, before we finish the story, here's a special request. Comment the word respect below if you believe true strength is shown through humility and kindness. Trevor remained seated long after Marcus and Amara left. For the first time that day, he stared at his coffee in complete silence, reflecting on the weight of what he had done. Sometimes life teaches lessons in the most unexpected places. A simple cafe, a quiet father, a little girl with a painting of a sunrise, and a reminder that heroes do not always look the way people expect. If this story touched your heart and reminded you that kindness matters more than pride, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs a reminder about humility, and subscribe to Heartfelt Stories for more powerful stories that inspire compassion and hope. Because sometimes the strongest people in the world are simply fathers trying to raise their children with love, one peaceful morning at a time.